Yes, Bill and I had gone to sleep that evening, November 22nd, and we had come from a friend's home. It was a prayer meeting, a weekly prayer meeting we attended every Sunday night. Nothing unusual. Went to bed about 11:30 or so. And I awoke. I was in my bed, and it was 3:23 in the morning when I woke up. And I do know that because the first thing I did when I heard screams coming from our living room is I saw the digital clock to my left, and I turned and I saw it was 3:23 in the morning. And I proceeded down our living room hallway, and I found my husband in a state that anyone who knows him would know he's completely out of character. He was traumatized, holding his hands to his temple and crying out in terror saying, pray for me, the Lord has taken me to hell. So this is not like my husband's nature. As he says, he's conservative. Anyone who knows him, he's steady as he goes. That's his personality. And so I first, of course, was in shock, but at the same time I had relief that he wasn't having a medical emergency, and I proceeded to pray. And thankfully the Lord removed the terror from his mind after a time of praying, but he left the memory so Bill could share it with people. And one of the first things he asked for was a glass of water, and I got that for him, and then he calmed down and told me that evening what happened. And I'm going to let him take you on a journey right now.
Thanks, gorgeous. We went to a prayer meeting like we did every Sunday night, and we returned from the prayer meeting, went to bed like any other normal night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I knew it was 3 o'clock. For some reason, I can't explain to you why I knew it was 3, but the Lord picked me up and took me out of my body and dropped me off in a prison cell in hell. And there was no explanation at all until the return. And so I found myself in a prison cell, just like you would imagine a prison cell to be, with rough-hewn stone walls and bars on the doors. And it was light for only about a minute, so I could see to describe to you what I saw. And then it resumed its normal state of darkness. But the first thing I noticed in this cell was the heat, the tremendous heat. I wondered immediately, why am I alive in this heat? It was way far beyond the ability for my body to live. But yet I was alive. And it was terrible, horrible heat. I don't know what the temperature was, but it was way beyond. I should have died. And I noticed that I was lying on the floor, and I had absolutely no strength in my body, completely void of any kind of strength. I could barely move. I looked up, and I saw these two creatures in the cell. There were two of these creatures. Now, I didn't know what they were at first, and because I went there as an unsaved person would be. The Lord withheld it from my mind that I was a Christian. He blocked it from my mind, which there's lots of scriptures, but just to give you 3, the Lord can do anything, but to give you a scriptural reference, in 2 Kings 4:27 and Daniel 4:34 and I think Luke 18:34, it talks about where the Lord can hide something from someone's mind. And I don't have time to go through each one. I'd love to go through the scriptures each one at a time with you, because that's the important thing to believe, but we just don't have the time. But anyway, so to give scriptural basis for that. So he blocked it from my mind and explained to me why on the way back, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'll just tell you now. The reason he blocked it from my mind, see, if I would have been there as a Christian, then I would have had hope, and I would have been able to cry out and say, God's getting me out of here. Well, he wanted me to experience what they feel there, and that they'll never get out. They're hopelessly lost, and they'll never get out. You see, and that's what he wanted me to experience, so he blocked that from my mind. So I didn't know what these creatures were. I wasn't there as a Christian to observe, that's a fallen angel or a demon. I didn't realize what they were. They were just enormous creatures. And I noticed, the size of this thing, first of all. And this might sound like a colorful exaggeration, but this one was about 13 feet tall. And to give you some scriptural basis for that again, in Genesis 6:4, it talks about where the sons of God came and had relations with women. Well, most of the commentators believe that the sons of God refers to the fallen angels. So the fallen angels came down, had relations with women, and produced giants in the earth in those days. And then in Deuteronomy 3:11 talks about the giant, one of his bedstead was made of iron and was 9 cubits in length. And a cubit is 1.5 feet, so it's about 13.5 feet long for the bedstead of the giant. So the giants in the earth came as a result of fallen angels having relations with women. Okay, so fallen angels are in hell. That's what fallen angels or demons, call them what you want. There may be some differences, but that's too technical to get into. But so this creature was about 13 feet tall. Okay, so you can look on the wall. The pastor had it drawn on the wall. That's how big 13 feet is. So to give you an idea, bring it into perspective, just gigantic thing. And it was all reptilish, scaly, bumps all over its body, really grotesque and just horrifying to look at. We're going to see a video in a little bit. We put together a 3-minute video, Mary Kay Baxter and myself, who was another lady that had experienced hell. And in the video, one of the clips came from Kenneth Hagin giving his testimony to Joel Osteen's church. They did a video, and he described the demon that he saw. Well, strangely enough, it was exactly like the one I saw. So I don't know how whoever drew it depicted it to be so exact, but this is exactly the one of the ones I saw in hell. So it's from Kenneth Hagin's testimony, and that's where it came from. So I've been trying to show it to people to give them an idea.
Tell them what you told me, that when you first saw this video, it just blew you away. He said, I went back and forth and looked at it 20, 30 times. And he said, I told my wife, I can't believe that image on that video is the exact demon that I saw. And you said...
Right, it was exactly. And it only shows him from about here up. I saw the whole body, so, this doesn't show the whole body, but I just was amazed. I kept playing it back thinking, how in the world they get it so exact? I wanted to contact Kenneth Hagin, but, I couldn't, so... Anyway, I don't know how they got it so exact, but this really is a good representation of what they look like. Now, they're all different sizes, shapes, or small ones, and so, which I'll talk about. But this particular one is huge, and it's ferocious. It's not just that it's big. It's ferocious, and it hates you. And it's powerful, and it was pacing in this cell like a caged bull, and ready to pounce and tear me to shreds. Okay, so if you can imagine the most wild beast animal you can picture, well, this is far worse than that. So with the size and with its nature, it was terrifying. I was just absolutely terrified. Yeah, so its head, it's hard to tell, but its head is probably this wide. So it's just an enormous head with huge teeth. It had claws about 1 foot long. It's foot-long claws on it. It was totally out of proportion, no symmetry to it. One ear big, one ear small, one arm long, one arm short, 1 foot big, one small. No symmetry to the just deformed, twisted, grotesque creature. And it paced around this cage, and it was conversing with another demon in the cage. The other one looked different than this. The other one had razor-sharp fins all over its body, and was thinner. This one was real stout and powerful looking, real wide like that picture on the wall, real wide like that, and big. So you can imagine, look how small I am compared to that. Any of us would be small compared to that. But that's what they look like. As far as the stench from this thing was terrible. Absolutely the most foul, putrid smell you could ever imagine. But besides that, in hell, there's a smell of sulfur, burning sulfur, which you can't breathe. And, if you've been to Hawaii, which I haven't, but they talk about if you go see the volcano, you can't go past a certain point because the fumes from the volcanic ash and so forth is from the sulfur, and it will kill you. It's toxic. Well, that's what you have to breathe in hell. It's toxic air. So you should die from breathing. But yet you keep living. And you don't want to breathe because you feel it's going to kill me. I'm going to die any second. But again, you keep on going. And besides that, there's not enough air to breathe. So you don't have enough air. It's not like you can take a deep breath like here. It's hardly any air at all. So each breath I took, I had to breathe like this. It was like... just like that. Barely could get any. So you're going to die any second from not enough air. But you keep going. So another one of these things you have to endure in hell. And you have to endure like I said, the heat and the fear. Psalm 73:18 talks about you cast them down into destruction where they're utterly consumed with terrors. And you are consumed with terrors.